Hello friends, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Ajay Solkhe, presently working as Assistant Professor, University School of Management, Kurukshetra University, Kurukshetra, Haryana. Upon completion of this module, a student should be able to understand the very significance of gratuity as a social security law and also as a measure to tackle post-retirement hardships and inconveniences, the various conditions and quantum of gratuity entitled to an employee, the various legal clauses of continuous service, compulsory insurance, recovery of gratuity, and powers of inspectors. Who has the power to exempt, and what are the penalties and offences under this Act? Very first of all, we need to be clear with what exactly gratuity is and its importance. Gratuity is a lump sum payment as a retirement benefit after superannuation or on termination of service for recognized reasons. Gratuity paid to a workman is intended to help them after retirement on superannuation, death, retirement, physical incapacity, disability, or otherwise. The object of a gratuity scheme is to provide a retiring benefit to workmen who have rendered long and unblemished service to the employer and thereby contributed to the prosperity of the employer. Here we will be discussing some of the salient features of the Payment of Gratuity Act 1972. Very first of all, the Act is a very self-contained and an exhaustive Act, and the provisions of this Act and rules made under it have an overriding effect on all other acts or instruments or contracts so far as they are inconsistent with this Act. The Act is fairly sweeping in coverage as it applies to all factories, mines, oil fields, plantations, ports, and railways, irrespective of the number of workmen employed by them. It also covers shops and establishments employing 10 or more persons. The Act gives the statutory right of gratuity to all the employees who have rendered 5 years of continuous service and whose services stand terminated after coming into force of the Act on account of superannuation or retirement or resignation or death or disablement. The Act provides both executive and quasi judicial machinery for matters pertaining to nomination, determination, and recovery of gratuity. The executive machinery pertains to maintenance of records regarding opening, change, or closure of establishment, display of notices, and maintenance of records by the controlling authority. The quasi judicial functions have been divided between the employers and the controlling authority inasmuch as for payment of gratuity. The first forum provided is an application to the employer. When the employer has declined or avoided payment of gratuity, then an application is required to be made to the controlling authority. The machinery provided for recovery rests with the controlling authority, and the orders for the controlling authority for payment or determination of gratuity are applicable before the appropriate government or the appellate authority. Regarding the objectives behind the passing of this Act, the very first is gratuity, as the word itself suggests, is a gratuitous payment given to an employee on discharge or retirement. The Act is not intended to do away with other retirement benefits already existed and were available to the employees. In bringing the Act, the legislature clearly intends to provide extra benefits to the employees. The Payment of Gratuity Act 1972 is enacted to introduce a scheme for payment of gratuity for certain industrial and commercial establishment as a measure for social security. In a nutshell, this is an act to provide for a scheme for the payment of gratuity to employees engaged in factories, mines, oil fields, plantations, ports, railways, companies, shops, or other establishment, and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Rules regarding the extent and applicability. The Act extends to the whole of India, provided that in so far as it relates to plantation or ports, it shall not extend to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The Act applies to every factory, mine, oil field, plantation, port, and railway company, every shop or establishment in which 10 or more persons are ordinarily employed in the last 12 months, such other establishment or class of establishment in which 10 or more employees are employed or were employed on any day of the preceding 12 months, as the central government specify in this behalf. A shop or establishment to which this Act has become applicable shall continue to be governed by this Act, notwithstanding that the number of persons employed therein at any time after it has become so applicable falls before 10. What is continuous service? An employee shall be said to be in continuous service for a period if he has been in uninterrupted service including service which may be interrupted on account of sickness, accident, leave, absence from duty, without leave, not being absence, break in service as per the standing orders, layoff, strike or a lockout or cessation of work not due to any fault of the employee, whether such uninterrupted or interrupted service was rendered before or after the commencement of this Act under Section 2A, subsection 1. An employee not being an employee employed in a seasonal establishment for 1 year or 6 months be deemed to be in continuous service under the employer for the said period of 1 year if the employee during the period of 12 calendar months preceding the date with reference to which calculation is to be made has actually worked under the employer for not less than 190 days in the case of any employee employed in mine or in an establishment which works for less than 6 days in a week. Secondly, 240 days in any other case for the said period of 6 months if the employee during the period of 6 calendar months preceding the date with reference to which the calculation is to be made has actually worked under the employer for not less than firstly 95 days in case of an employee employed below the ground in a mine or in an establishment which works for less than 6 days in a week, and secondly 120 days in any other case, section 2A and clause 2B. Where an employee employed in a seasonal establishment is not in continuous service within the meaning of clause 1 for any period of 1 year or 6 months, he shall be deemed to be in continuous service under the employer for such period if he has actually worked for not less than 75% of the number of days on which the establishment was in operation during such period. Rules regarding the payment of gratuity. Gratuity shall be payable to an employee on the termination of his employment after he has rendered continuous service for not less than 5 years, on his superannuation, on his retirement or resignation, on his death or disablement due to accident or disease. It is payable to the employee himself. In case of death, it is paid to his nominee, or if no nomination has been made, to his heirs. For the purpose of this section, disablement means such disablement as incapacitates an employee for the work which he was capable of performing before the accident or disease resulting in such disablement. Rules regarding the calculation of gratuity as stipulated in section 4 subsection 2. In the establishment other than seasonal establishment, the employer shall pay the gratuity to an employee at the rate of 15 days wages based on the rates of wages last drawn by the employee concerned for every completed year of service or part thereof in excess of 6 months. In case of piece rated employee, daily wages shall be computed on the average of the total wages received by him for a period of 3 months immediately preceding the termination of his employment, and for this purpose the wages paid for any overtime work shall not be taken into account. In case of an employee who is employed in a seasonal establishment can be classified in two groups: those who work throughout the year and those who work only during the season. Those who work throughout the year are the monthly rated employee and are entitled to get the gratuity at the rate of 15 days wages for every completed year of service or part thereof in excess of 6 months. Those who work only during the season are, however, entitled to receive gratuity at the rate of 7 days wages for each season. In case of a monthly rated employee, the 15 days wages shall be calculated by dividing the monthly rate of wages last drawn by him by 26 and multiplying the quotient by 15. In order to arrive at the figure of daily wage, for the purpose of section 4 subsection 2 of the Act, monthly wages is to be divided by 26. Maximum amount of gratuity payable. Under section 4 subsection 3, it shall not exceed rupees 10 lakhs with effect from 24th May 2010. Computation of gratuity of disabled employee. Under section 4 subsection 4, when an employee becomes disabled due to any accident or disease and is not in a position to do the same work and re-employed on reduced wages on some other job, the gratuity will be calculated in two parts. One is for the period preceding the disablement on the basis of wages last drawn by the employee at the time of his disablement. Secondly, for the period subsequent to the disablement on the basis of the reduced wages as drawn by him at the time of the termination of service. For the purposes of computation of quantum of the amount of the gratuity, the terms of agreement or settlement are better than the Act. The employee is entitled for that benefit, but the maximum statutory ceiling limit as providing under section 4 subsection 3 of the Act cannot be reduced by mutual settlement or agreement. Regarding the forfeiture of gratuity, forfeiture to the extent of the damage or loss if the services of an employee have been terminated on account of any act, on account of willful omission or any kind of negligence causing damage, loss, destruction of property to the employer, then the gratuity shall be forfeited to the extent of the damage or loss so caused. Wholly or partially forfeiture of gratuity, where if the services of such employee have been terminated for his riotous or disorderly conduct or any other act of violence on his part, or if the services of such employee have been terminated for any act which constitutes an offence involving moral turpitude, provided that such offence is committed by him in the course of his employment, there the gratuity payable to the employee may be wholly or partially forfeited. Compulsory insurance. The Payment of Gratuity Amendment Act in 1987 has prescribed provisions for compulsory insurance for employees. However, employer of an establishment belonging to or under the control of a central government or the state government are exempted from the operations of these provisions. Slide 25. Exemptions to the employers from obtaining insurance. The appropriate government may also exempt employers who have directly established an approved gratuity fund in respect of his employees and who desires to continue such arrangement, and the employer shall register his establishment with controlling authority in the prescribed manner. 2. Employers having 500 or more employees who establishes an approved gratuity fund in the manner prescribed. Slide 26. To give effect to the provisions of this section, the appropriate government may make rules for the composition of Board of Trustees of the approved gratuity fund, for the recovery by the controlling authority of the amount of gratuity payable to employees of LIC or any other insurer with whom an insurance has been taken, or as the case may be, the Board of Trustees of the approved gratuity fund. Employer's failure to pay premium contribute to the gratuity fund. If the employer fails to pay the premium to the insurance or to the contribute to an approved gratuity fund, he shall be liable to pay them amount of gratuity including interest, if any, for delayed payment to the controlling authority. Regarding the penalty, its contravention is punishable with a fine up to 10,000, and in case of a continued offence with a further fine which may extend to 1,000 per day up to the duration of the offence continues. Rules regarding the nomination. Normally, the gratuity is paid to the employee by his employer, where his services are terminated due to any reason in his lifetime. But after the death of the said employee, the earned gratuity is to be paid to his successors, and to avoid any type of complications and controversies, the provision of the nomination by the employee to get the gratuity in case of his death is made. The provisions are like that. Very first is nomination by the employee after the completion of 1 year of service. Each employee who has completed 1 year of service shall make within such time, in such form and manner as may be prescribed, nomination for the purpose of the second provision to subsection 1 of section 4. Distribution of gratuity amount. An employee may in his nomination distribute the amount of gratuity payable to him under this Act amongst more than one nominee. Nomination in favor of one or more family members. If an employee has a family, at the time of making a nomination, the nomination shall be made in favor of one or more members of his family, and any nomination made by such employee in favor of a person who is not a member of his family shall be totally void. Nomination by the employee having no family and subsequently acquiring family. If at the time of making a nomination, the employee has no family, but the nomination may be made in favor of any person or persons, but if the employee subsequently acquires a family, such nomination shall forthwith become invalid, and the employee shall make within such time as may be prescribed a fresh nomination in favor of one or more members of his family. Modification in nomination by the employee. A nomination may, subject to the provisions of section 3 and 4, be modified by an employee at any time after giving to his employer a written notice in such form and manner as may be prescribed of his intention to do so. In the case of death of a nominee, if a nominee predeceases the employee, the interest of the nominee shall revert to the employee, who shall make a fresh nomination in the prescribed form in respect of such interest. Nomination to kept by the employer. Every nomination fresh nomination or alteration of nomination, as the case may be, shall be sent by the employee to his employer, who shall keep the same in his safe custody. Procedure for nomination. Nomination form to be submitted in duplicate to the employer. A nomination form shall be filled in form number F and will be submitted in duplicate by personal service by the employee after taking proper receipt or by sending through registered post acknowledgement due to the employer. Submission of the form in case of an employee who is already in employment for a year or more on the date of commencement of these rules, ordinarily within 90 days from such date. In case of an employee who completes 1 year of service after the date of commencement of these rules, ordinarily within 30 days of the completion of 1 year of service. Regarding acceptance of form beyond the specified time, Form F filled with reasonable grounds for delay shall be accepted by the employer after the specified time, and no nomination so accepted shall be invalid because of the reason that it was filled after the specified period. Within 30 days of the receipt of the nomination in Form F, the employer shall get the service particulars of the employee as mentioned in the form, verified with reference to the records of the establishment, and return one copy to the employee. After obtaining a receipt thereof, the duplicate copy of Form F duly attested by the employer or his authorized signatory, and the other one shall be recorded for future in his office. The period of submission for fresh nomination after acquiring a family. If an employee has no family at the time of his first nomination, then within 90 days of acquiring a family, he will submit a fresh nomination in duplicate on Form G to the employer. Regarding notice of modification of nomination, a notice of modification of a nomination, including the case where the nominee predeceases an employee, shall be submitted in duplicate in Form H to the employer. In both the cases, as in number 3 and 4, the rest procedures will be as mentioned in Sub-Rule 1 and Sub-Rule 2 shall apply. Nomination duly signed by the employee. A nomination or a fresh nomination or a notice of modification of nomination shall be duly signed by the employee, and if he is illiterate, shall bear the thumb impression of the employee in presence of 2 witnesses, who shall also sign a declaration to that effect in the nomination. Fresh nomination or notice of modification of nomination, as the case may be, and it shall take effect from the date of receipt thereof by the employer. Under Section 7 and Rule 7, regarding the application for the payment of gratuity, an employee who is eligible for payment of gratuity under the Act, or any person authorized in writing to act on his behalf, shall apply ordinarily within 30 days from the date of the gratuity become payable in Form 1 to the employer. But if the date of superannuation or retirement of an employee is known, the employee may apply to the employer before 30 days of the date of superannuation or retirement. A nominee of an employee who is eligible for payment of gratuity in case of a death of the employee shall apply to the employer ordinarily within 30 days from the date of the gratuity becomes payable to him in the form number 1. An application on plain paper with relevant particulars shall also be accepted. The employer may obtain such other particulars as may be deemed necessary by him. If an employee dies without making a nomination, his legal heirs who is eligible for the payment of gratuity shall apply ordinarily within 1 year from the date of gratuity become payable to him in Form K to the employer. An application even after the prescribed period shall also be entertained by the employer if the sufficient cause for delay has been mentioned in the application. Any dispute in this regard shall also be referred to the controlling authority for his decision. In any case, the claim for gratuity cannot be treated as invalid merely because the claimant failed to submit the application within the prescribed time. The application shall be presented to the employer either by personal service or by registered post with AD, Rule number 7. What are the duties of employers? Determination of the amount of gratuity by the employer. As soon as gratuity becomes payable, the employer shall, whether the application for the payment of gratuity has been given or not by the employee, determine the amount of gratuity and give notice in writing to the person to whom the gratuity is payable, and also to the controlling officer, specifying the amount of gratuity so determined. Section 7, subsection 2. Provisions of interest on gratuity amount. If the amount of gratuity payable under subsection 3 is not paid by the employer within the period specified, that is the 30 days, the employer shall pay from the date on which the gratuity becomes payable to the date on which it is paid. Simple interest at such rate not exceeding the rate notified by the central government from time to time for repayment of long-term deposits as the government may by notification specify. Notice for payment of gratuity. Claim for gratuity found to be admissible. On verification, the employer shall issue a notice in form number L to the applicant employee, nominee or legal heir as the case may be, specifying the amount of gratuity payable and fixing a date not being later than 30th day after the date of receipt of the application for payment thereof. If the claim for gratuity is not found admissible, employer shall issue a notice in form number M to the applicant employee, nominee or legal heir as the case may be, specifying the reasons why the claim for gratuity is not considered admissible. Thirdly, issue of notice to the applicant in either of the case within 15 days of the receipt of an application for the payment of gratuity. The notice has to be issued by the employer to the applicant employee, nominee or legal heir as the case may be, along with a copy endorsed to the controlling authority. Fourthly, claimant is nominee or legal heir. If the claimant for gratuity is a nominee or a legal heir, the employer may ask for such witness or evidence as may be deemed relevant for establishing his identity or maintainability of his claim. In that case, the time limit specified for issuance of notices shall be operative with effect from the date of such witness or evidence called for by the employer is furnished to the employer. Service of notices on the applicant. The notice on form L or M shall be served on the applicant either by personal service after taking receipt or by a registered post with AD. Rule 8. Provisions regarding the mode of payment of gratuity. The gratuity shall be paid either in cash, in demand draft, bank check to the claimant. If the claimant so desires and the amount of gratuity payable is less than 1000 rupees, it may be made by postal money order after deducting the amount due to such postal money order from the amount payable. Where nominee or a legal heir is a minor, there the controlling authority shall invest the gratuity amount deposited with him for the benefit of such minor in term deposit with the State Bank of India or any of its subsidiaries or any nationalized bank. Rule 9. Appeal. Appeal to an order. Any person aggrieved by an order made by the controlling authority may within 60 days from the receipt of the order prefer an appeal to the appropriate government or such other authority as may be specified by the appropriate government in this behalf. After being satisfied with sufficient cause, he may extend this period by a further period of 60 days. Modification of an order. The appropriate government or the appellate authority, as the case may be, after giving the parties to the appeal a reasonable opportunity of being heard, confirm, modify or reverse the decision of the controlling authority. Under section 7, subsection 7, admission of appeal on the production of the certificate of the deposit of gratuity, the employer's appeal shall not be admitted without producing the certificate of deposit of gratuity amount issued by the controlling authority or the deposit of the said amount with the appellate authority. Rules regarding penalties. Penalty for avoiding of any payment to be made. Any person who is responsible for the purpose of avoiding any payment to be made by himself or of enabling any other person to avoid such payment, knowingly makes or causes to be made any false statement or false representation shall be punishable with the imprisonment for the term which may extend to 6 months or with fine which may extend to 10,000 rupees or with both. Secondly, penalty for contravention and default in compliance of any provision. An employer who contravenes or makes default in complying with any of the provisions of this act or any rule or order made thereunder shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 3 months but which may extend to 1 year or with fine which shall not be less than rupees 10,000 but which may extend it to 20,000 rupees or with both. Penalty for non-payment of gratuity payable under the Act. If the offence relates to non-payment of any gratuity payable under the Act, the employer shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which shall not be less than 6 months but which may extend to 2 years unless the court trying the offence for the reasons to be recorded by it in writing is of the opinion that a lesser term of imprisonment or the imposition of a fine would meet the needs of justice. Exemption of employer from liability. Regarding this legal clause, where an employer is charged with an offence punishable under this Act, he can, after giving 3 days clear notice of his intention to do so, bring any other person whom he charges as the actual offender before the court at the time fixed for hearing the charge, and if after the offence has been proved, employer proves to the satisfaction of the court that he has used due diligence to enforce the execution of this Act, and secondly, the said person committed the offence in question without his knowledge, consent or connivance. There, the other person responsible for the occurrence shall be convicted of the offences and shall be liable to be like punishment as if he were the employer, and the employer shall be discharged from any kind of liability under the Act in respect of such offence as stipulated in section 10. Regarding cognizance of offences, no court shall take cognizance of any offence punishable under this Act except on a complaint made by or under the authority of the appropriate government, where the amount of gratuity has not been paid or recovered within 6 months from the expiry of the prescribed time. Their appropriate government shall authorize the controlling authority to make a complaint against the employer. The controlling authority shall within 15 days from the date of such authorization make such complaint to a magistrate having jurisdiction to try the offence, and no court inferior to that of a metropolitan magistrate or a judicial magistrate of the first class shall try any offence punishable under this Act as stipulated in section 11. Regarding protection of gratuity, in any case gratuity cannot be attached in execution of any decree or order of any civil, revenue or criminal court as stipulated in section 13. Friends, I hope you have understood the contents well. You can also refer to other quadrants of this module for testing your knowledge and having some more input on theme of the module. Happy learning!